Welcome, fam, to the FFL 2024 Week 3 recap. I have not an expert with me named Andy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, I brought my beverage here.
I
Did you
got
bring your?
my little smoky, just like I'm getting smoked in the fantasy. I'm having a smoked old fashioned.
Ah, it does look smoky. Why is it so like orange?
Well, I muddle mine.
Oh, I love it. I like that.
The orange and the cherry, yeah, you got to muddle them together. And
Good.
I know it's more of a holiday drink, but when they're smoked, it's an everyday drink.
And when you're getting smoked, it's an everyday
And when
drink.
I'm getting smoked, it's really bad. So,
Yeah. I mean, not a, it was a crazy week all around. So, kind of as the NFL always does, they provide us with weird weeks. But Andy, I appreciate you coming on. This is your first time this year, but you know how this normally goes. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Make sure that my share sound is on so we can listen to Dr. Sam. And then let me get the slideshow going from the beginning. So this is the week 3 recap for our 2024 season, and this is how it's going to roll today. We're going to go through our week 3 matchups. We actually had a couple ass whoopings this week, as well as a couple nail biters this week. So it was an all around interesting week. Then we'll hit up Sam with the injury report. My bad, Dr. Sam with the injury report. After
sounds
that, you and I will go through waiver wire and let's see if your not an expert status lives up to its name. After the waiver wire, we'll hit the trade central. And then Javante or Godwin. Man, is Javante going to even play
yeah.
again? Who knows? And then comment of the week, and then wrapping it up with what's coming up this coming week. Are you ready to rock and roll, Andy?
Let's do it.
Okay, we're going to
Cheers.
start with yes. Cheers. Cheers. Let's start with the ass whooping this week, and I'll throw this over here like I normally do. I always hate this. But here we go. There we go. Ass whooping of the week was we had two of them, and it's actually not in order of largest margin, but I did put Zach versus Louis first because Zach kudos to you. You got high point of the week at 140.72, so just shy of 141. So that's why I put that here. Here's a toast. Andy, you got your drink. I got mine.
Yeah, I score.
I score. That's 10 buckaroos right there. Hmm. Okay.
Drinks are on him.
Yeah, exactly. And this was basically like a 55-point trouncing on Licho, which is a tough one to swallow for him because Licho did have a couple good players, Lamar Jackson and David Montgomery. They did well for him. And even Jake Ferguson, I think, was like the number 2 tight end in our league this week. So he had a couple bright spots. And it felt like for Louis, it was just either he had those three guys and then other guys, I guess, were on the field. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. And then on the opposite side, Andy, you had the high score of the week, and how he got that was Josh Allen went crazy in that first half. Jonathan
Yep.
Taylor looked great. And their Jets defense is always pretty good. Anything that you saw here that you liked, didn't like, could have changed?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, Josh Allen was huge, and Jonathan Taylor's been playing well on a crappy team, but playing well. And I like James Cook. I have him in a couple other leagues, and he's been solid. He's consistent. So, I mean, he had pretty balanced scoring for the most part, but uh, no, I think those
Yeah.
two pretty much took it.
Yeah, I noticed that he had, Juwan Jennings on the bench. So that one, and he put Waddle in over him. That would be the only one I would have questioned because for me, you pick up Juwan Jennings to play him because the guys aren't there. And you're not sure. I didn't, now no one saw what Juwan Jennings did that happening. So I understand that. But when you have Kittle and Debo out with an Ayuk who's still trying to get into the offense again, I felt like Jawan probably was going to be the top target because Ayuk. So he didn't play in the preseason, didn't do any of this stuff, and hasn't looked great yet this year.
But
But
you know what? I follow that again in one of my other leagues. Not being an expert, I put Brandon Ayuk in because of all the
yeah,
injuries. I had thinking he would do at least what he was projected to do, and he didn't come near that. But I tell you what, Juwan Jennings, if you look back, I mean, look at the Super Bowl, I mean, he comes up big in spots and really can be a big player.
yeah, and he's a good run blocker, so they like him out there for that part of it as well.
Yep.
And I kind of forget that he picked up Jawan. You know what? That's my fault because he had Brandon Ayuk. Is he really going to play both? I don't know. You
Probably
can't play
not.
both, and you want to play an Ayuk. So like, I kind of get that too. So that is a tough one for it. But we'll see what maybe happens this upcoming week and who
Hey,
might
he
be
won
out for them.
one big high score. Congratulations.
Yeah, as I say, nothing to. We shouldn't really be poking holes into that.
Uh,
Jawan Jennings. I think I just wanted to mention Jawan Jennings. It's a humongous freaking week this week. I mean, holy cow! All right, well, next up to the next ass whooping because there really was another ass whooping that happened. And before we get to that, yeah, hey, here, come on up. Bye.
Hi, Tage. How are you?
Good.
Good. You look
And
pretty
I'm in
good.
kindergarten.
I'm sorry?
I'm in kindergarten.
You're in kindergarten. Oh my gosh, you're growing up way too fast.
Too
You need to,
fast. Too.
you need to
Yeah,
slow down there.
yeah. Tell me about it.
I can't though.
You. I love that. I can't though. That is true. And T-ball's going well too, right? You're doing well there.
Yeah.
All
Our
right.
game was canceled today due to rain, due
Oh,
to the
What's
rain.
this?
that
That
happened.
is my drink. But yeah.
Why does it have a shirt
Why
on?
does my drink have a shirt on? Because it's beautiful.
Be naked.
Yeah. The Colts. I'm sure
Love you.
there's luck. Yeah. What? Hey, do you want to say goodbye to Andy?
Love you.
He says, "Love you,
Love you.
love you, bye." Okay. Well, she might be leaving. She's now talking, petting the dog. All right. Bye. Bye. Sorry to get off track there. She likes to make her appearance, and once she knows it's on, she's coming in.
I think she's
So,
behind the door.
yeah, right. Um, but the next ass one we had this week was actually the largest margin by 60, basically over you, Andy. So, do you want to talk about it or?
Yeah, I really kind of do because I really don't think there's any place in fantasy football for AI, and that's what I was up against.
Well, I don't think AI picked at Jordan Mason or other people. I don't know, but yeah,
Uh,
yeah, AI kind of stomped you this week here. But he's got to play the right players, I guess. We'll throw that out there.
well,
But
have you
Jamar
looked at
Chase finally came to
he
play.
doesn't have any tough decisions to make every week. There's nobody on his bench. How do you have to anguish over that? It's not like what we were talking about. Do you play Ayuk or Jennings?
Yeah.
Because he ain't got nobody to play.
Oh, that was a good one. Cheers that. That might make honorary comment of the week there.
So I mean, decisions be made. I mean, no, he has some good players on there, and I like this Jaden Daniels. I watched him last night, and I mean, he looks like the real deal.
Yeah.
Young, but good arm, can run. He looks good. So I hope he has.
I I lost in one of my leagues because I didn't play him. I played Jared Goff over him because when I drafted him, I also drafted Jared Goff like the very next round. Like I drafted him back to back, not knowing what Daniels would do. And I thought rookies are up and down. Jared Goff fairly steady, and he had a lot of dome games this year, a lot of stuff. And I felt like that Arizona Detroit game was going to be like a high scoring battle. for the first half it was, and then Detroit didn't score again, so it made me look foolish at that point.
Yeah.
But shoot, through the first half, I was like, "Well, I made the right decision. How smart am I?" And then it was terrible from then on. And Daniels looked great last night. I mean, he does.
Yeah.
And now I'm just not. I'm just going to roll with his ups and downs. That's what I've decided. I think you just got to roll with his ups and downs, and you'll be okay with it.
I have him in two other leagues, and unfortunately, I was playing against him in this one, but I had already lost this one before he even played, so it didn't really matter. I was
So you're
hoping
rooting him on.
I was rooting him on because I'd already lost, so and it didn't help me. So
Yeah. And I think it's tough. You know, you honestly have players on here that I like, and I think like Travis Kelsey has been a travesty this year so far, and Zay Flowers been a little odd up and down. Shakir did well for you, but yeah, it's been a tough go for you so far, Andy. But guess what? You're not out of it, so that's the good news.
I'd like you all to get a head start.
Yeah. Of course, of course. Um, Other teams did play. Kyle actually did very well. Oh, go back because I'm trying to mess with this friggin' thing to get off of Kyle's score here. But yeah, Kyle, he played Glenn in this one, and this was close to as I'll say, it was a pretty much a butt whooping. I mean, he beat him by almost 35 points, so that's a pretty good butt whooping there already. We just had a couple others that were even more, and you know, Glenn's in a similar spot as you, man. Just not players just aren't doing well on his team. He's got a couple good ones I like, but yet they're not doing too much. But Kyle had his best game of the season so far, so he's probably feeling pretty good about that. What say
And,
you on this matchup?
Kyle, Dak woke up the last like 10 minutes of the game and played. Really, the last 10 minutes of that game because Baltimore was just whooping them. And,
They were,
obviously had Derrick Henry had a huge game in that 150 plus yards. Seems like it's kind of the year of the running back a lot in these games because
yeah.
they've been producing where quarterbacks have been kind of failing. But, I have my opinion on that. So.
Do you want to share that now?
I just, the quarterback play has been spotty at best. I mean, still,
Yeah.
you got great quarterbacks out there. Don't let me diminish that. But I think, you got a lot of defenses that are going to the 2 deep cover,
Yep.
and some of them playing even a 3 deep cover. And I think the defensive have gotten more sophisticated because, I mean, look what Minnesota with Brian Flores did to Texas, just made them look like a high school team.
Yep.
Washington's defense looked great last night, and you got Dan Quinn as the head coach. You got a lot. I think the defenses are becoming a little more sophisticated, but I think they play, that deep 2-man cover, and
Yep.
you get a lot more of the little flats or the swing passes, and then they try to make the yardage after the catch. And I think it makes for longer drives, but yet not always as many points. But, that's just, and I've kind of read that in some of the articles that I was reading, but you kind of see it when you're watching the game too. There's a lot more of the short passes. And I think they said something like it since like 1991 or 2, it's the least amount of yards per pass.
Wow,
Like
the average depth of target. I know that's a big average
yards per pass.
Yeah, they call it A dot, like average depth of
Yeah.
target is like, and to your point, you see that, and like, as you're also saying, is just like anything, it's this opposite waves that come in, right? It's like they converge on like, hey, we got a lot of passing, so like this moment, like defenses
Yeah.
are shifting towards that, but then the offense now we're going to shift to running. So then it's like and it's going to always go that way. So while they
Yeah.
want more scoring in the NFL, at the end of the day, teams are trying to win championships, and they're going.
Yep.
And if the defense is getting lighter, literally physically lighter, because they're trying to get faster guys so they can cover
Exactly.
these receivers, well, that means that Derrick Henry is going to eat on you all day because he's too big for your linebackers that you're trying to have over
Oh
there.
shit! You got young linebackers that are smaller than him.
Right. Well, yeah, he came in as basically a linebacker already. Mm-hmm. What I will say for Kyle's team is I don't know if you'd play Zeke anymore. But the last thing I'll say is, what's happened to Mark Andrews?
I don't know because I picked him up too in another league, and I just don't know. I don't know if he's healthy. He
Right,
doesn't
I think
seem
it's more
at all.
health. Like to me, it seems more health. They said he got like 4 plays. I don't even know if they played much in that game.
Well, he only got one target, but likely didn't do much either.
Right.
Uh, so, I mean, obviously, with Derrick Henry running for 150 yards, I think that made a big difference in their game plan. But
And getting up
uh,
by a lot when you get up, fat quickly, you don't need it, so you're not going to push a guy who's And to me, that tells me that Andrews is hurt. Like he's still
right,
hurt, still recovering from stuff because otherwise he'd be out there.
that ankle injury he had too. I know he had the car wreck later in the summer, but that ankle injury was
Yep.
pretty severe too. So,
Yep. And that was like the end of
that,
that season. So,
yep, exactly.
but he'll come
But
around for you, Glenn.
I don't want to say too much good about Kyle because I don't.
I know, I completely get it. So we'll see what's going on there. But yeah, um that was a pretty much a butt whooping on that side, and Glenn's kind of feeling your same pain, Andy. So you and him might need to commiserate a little bit over some beers and some pinball. That's what you could commiserate. You have a
There you
little meat. Next up, we have EJ, who lost by about 25-ish points to Suckadicka in the West. And this matchup was semi-low scoring. I mean, 112 is about average. You're about in that middle area where you could go either way. But EJ kind of in a similar boat of having some up and down weeks and not his team's not performing like he would hope that they would, even though I think Mahomes had his technically his like best game of the year so far at only 21.5 points, which isn't great. But him and Rashee Rice having that connection helped him out a lot in this matchup to get where he was. But the Raiders defense giving him negative 4 points, that's one of the lowest ones we've ever seen on here, does not help him. On Sam's side, he had a couple big plays. What do you think happened in this matchup, or anything that you saw in the games that really turned the tide for Sam to win?
Well, I think Burrow looked really good last night as well, and obviously reflected in his game. What he scored 4 touchdowns, I think,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. But getting 23 points out of Dallas Goddard, oh my God, that's huge. I think that's a big turning point right
yep.
there. But
What,
hey, I don't blame Cheesehead for playing Raiders because they were playing Carolina, and that's
right,
what you're.
right.
But then you put in the red rifle, and look what happens. He lights it up.
He does. I know. Interesting. Yeah, they said Goddard, that was the franchise record for them for tight end and total yardage or something like that for the Eagles. So he now has that. That was a humongous game that you wouldn't have imagined coming from him. And the interesting
Mm-hmm.
part for Sam was like this week, his running backs combined didn't total one of his running backs last week. They may have totaled James Conner from last week or whoever he had as his flex. But if you remember, Kamara had 50 himself last week. Achane had 30 some, and this
Which,
week they combined for less than 35 total. So
yeah, and
that
they
was
had
interesting.
points between the three of them last week.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of interesting that humongous swing. Now they did go Connor went against Detroit. It's a tough run defense. So if you have a running back going against Detroit, if it's a top guy, you're probably not doing anything to make any adjustments there. But if it's a middling running back, you might want to think twice about that with Detroit. They seem to have a really good run defense there.
Agreed, but you know what? I'd been happy with 19 points out of Kamara. I mean, I think
Oh, Kamara, yeah.
you and I were talking on the phone. I was like, well, he ain't gonna do that again this week, but
Right.
18 points is really good, especially how
Yep.
bad New Orleans offense played that game. It was ridiculous.
No, that's
But
very true. I thought you'd get more out of Achan this week due
yeah,
to
they had to travel across the country and play Seattle, and their defense ain't a slouch.
no,
And
they're
you're
not.
playing 12th man, so
Yeah, they're
they
not a slouch. Yeah, like you said, they're not. They really aren't. I just figured with Skylar Thompson being there, they'd be throwing a lot more shorter routes, and Achan might benefit from that. Is kind of was my thought
and
on
my
that side. But
Dolphins are in the tank again. I think I'm going on year 39 or 40. So yeah, and rest in peace to Eugene Mercury Morris, who passed away this weekend, and
I did
he
not know that.
1,000-yard runner for the 1972 championship team, and also a convicted felon for drug trafficking. So yeah, rest in peace.
We'll get him on our favorite podcast, Crime in Sports,
Yeah,
soon. Hopefully he'll be on there. That'd be interesting. If that's his only crime, though, they usually don't do players that have just like the one crime like that, but they might do a bonus episode on him. So, but they might be able to find dirt on him that we didn't know about. Like he's got some weird stuff back in college where he, public urination, or something like that after a college party. Who
awesome.
knows? But yeah, it's always a fun show. But I wonder if they'll ever do a Mercury Morris. But anywho, we'll jump off of this game. Sam, good
Yeah,
victory, and that actually vaulted him to number one in the West again. So I think he maintains that spot because of some other things that happened. Even though he didn't have the highest of scores, it was still good, a good score and good enough to win this week. Then we had two nail biters. And I've kind of ordered these, Andy, by the games last night because they came down to the games last night and what was going to happen there. So the first game of the night was the Bills and Jags. That game started at I guess here at 6:30, so in Eastern time would be 7:30. Allison still had Travis Etienne and Dalton Kincaid to go. I think they needed to combine for like 35 or points or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, but I should be able to look at it here. But it was something along those lines. So looks like about 30. So they need to get like 30-ish combined. And it got pretty close. I will tell you, Andy, being in this matchup, when I got to 113, I'm right there with Sam. I'm like, it could go either way. And then last night happens. I Kincaid got the early touchdown. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. And in another league I have the same exact combo going of ETN and Kincaid, and I need a similar outcome. So I was like, well, I can't win both. So I got, whichever way it goes, I guess hopefully I win the other. But when the last thing I'll say about it is we were both finally home and it was like the fourth quarter, halfway through. I mean, I kind of felt like they were getting blown out. Jacksonville didn't think they were going to do anything else with what was going on, and I go take a shower. I was like, I'm just going to go take my shower now. I think I've got this wrapped up. And I come back to like, ETN got like 5 or 6 more points. They put it up to this number that you see here, and I'm like, oh no, and it was 2 minutes left, and I saw they had their backups at, and I was like, "Whew!" I got saved, and that was a tough one.
thank goodness for Ray Davis, huh?
Yeah, I like him,
Yeah, he looks good.
and the Bills in general look good. Holy cow! I mean, Josh Allen, he is taking the team on his back and saying, "I can do whatever I want. It doesn't matter who I got here." So
Exactly. Well, I just would have to say I'm sorry, Allison. It didn't work out for you, but you got more points with the players we traded than I got for the two that I've got.
and you're and Allison got Javante, so that's saying something
Yeah,
right
I
there.
0 points out of the people I got right now, but that's okay.
Yeah, you sure you don't want neighbors? Sure.
Oh shit.
I know, but what I will say is I got a couple players that saved Rashid Shaheed's ass. Kyron Williams going off really saved him, and the Packers defense. Both of
Yeah,
those two. I give myself credit for the Packers defense because I
every
feel like
point.
I can do pretty well to find a defense on this streaming. But Kyron is his own thing. I mean, that's a guy's against San Francisco. I had did not think that would be happen at all. So I got kind of lucky there, in my opinion.
Now I think he's a great looking running back, but yeah, I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah, that was a lot. But Shaheed getting me a 0, that hurt, man. That's like, of course he would, of course. But yes, things are now calmer here at the house and not so much worried about each other and what we're gonna do. Sorry, Allison, I had to beat you, but hey, I got a victory. It's nice to be 3-0. I will say,
Sorry,
because
not sorry.
yeah, right. Sorry, not sorry. And then she's unfortunately 0-3, so we're having opposite years so far here.
Yeah.
And then last but not least is the second nail biter. This was the closest matchup of the week, and this really did come down to the end from what I understood. I'll be honest, I kind of went upstairs and kind of went back to bed after our matchup, the Bills and Jags, with the other game still going. But I was kind of checking in, and it looked like, was it Moss, like Zach Moss, that started to get some points and make
Yep.
Bob sweat a little bit?
Yeah, Moss actually looked as good as I've seen him look. I really,
Really?
yeah, I thought. I mean, I used to like him when he was younger, but he never got a lot of play, and he kind of got, what, he was in Buffalo, and then he went to Indianapolis and stuff. But I thought he looked about as good as I've seen him look. So yeah, he had a really good night last night and made it closer. That's for sure. What hurt, I think, you know, hurt me in another league as well as I've got Stroud, and he just looked lost against Minnesota the other day.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw Sam's meme, and yeah, that kind of says it all. But
That did.
yeah,
That
that was
was
a
a good
close
one.
game, and it was good, very good. I
And
like that thing. And
Bob was carried by Saquon. I mean, Saquon is looking great.
massive.
I can't. I'll vet this here real quick, but I have to imagine he's the number one running back in our league right now. And then, I mean, because I think he's number one in the NFL right now.
Absolutely. And he's running behind probably one of the best offensive lines there is in the NFL. And he's very talented. So
Yeah.
I'm not shocked at this, to be honest. And
No,
if I should have
he got
probably
a
looked.
great deal. He got a great deal on Saquon because Saquon was probably running back five-ish or six or something. I
Yep.
don't know. When he
Yep.
picked him up, we'll have to take a look at that. But Saquon is currently averaging. So you think that 38 points is outlandish? No, he's currently averaging 32.3 points. That is
Wow.
what
I
he
did
is
not.
averaging.
That is incredible. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, he's doing okay over there for Bob. Because the thing with Saquon is he also catches passes and they haven't in the past really thrown to the running back much. But Hurts, I think, is also still maybe a little hurt. He's not running like he was before. He did kind of near the end of that game, but he wasn't prior to that. And so I mean Saquon last two games has caught four balls as well. So I mean, adding that dimension, I think they kind of have to with having the injuries they have as well. I mean, you're just trying to get it to a playmaker's hands, and as long as one of those guys is hurt, Saquon, I think, is going to continue to do this kind of stuff
And
the league.
I think it'll even still help him when they get those players back because it'll free things up a little bit more because then you got
True.
to pay attention to Brown. You got to pay attention. I think Devontae got concussed, did he? Or I don't remember if he did or not. But
Yes, he did.
so, if you have Devontae and A.J. Brown and Saquon and Hurts and then you have Dallas Goddard playing like he did the other day. You got some weapons that I think it'll make it easier for all of them. They may not score 38 points, but I think they'll have good, solid nights.
Agreed. Yeah. So I mean, having Saquon on there has been helpful for him, and he had one of his. I think this might have been Bob's lowest scoring game so far, but he still pulled it out with a victory. And Tyler was close, man. Tyler's battling people this year so far through the first 3 weeks, so we got to be on the lookout for him right now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up the previous week's matchups in week three. Nice job to those who nabbed a victory, and sorry to those who didn't. But we do have week four coming up, and there's still plenty of time in the season. We're not even through a quarter of the way. We're not even a quarter of the way through, people. So don't you worry. You got tons of time.
Lots of time to lose more games.
Yeah, exactly. But we do have Dr. Sam coming on, and as you know, we got to get sponsors for him. So,
Wait to see this sponsor.
well, you and
Last
Louie
week,
haven't really been a great help.
last week's sponsor was fantastic. The Michigan, I hadn't heard of that for a long time. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I may not have as great of a callback this week with it. Allison had no idea what I was talking about because she didn't know who Great Lakes Marketing was. But for those of us who know who are in the Stevens family, you know it probably too well because you may have called that office a few times. Hasn't gotten
or been there.
or been there, yes. But yes, Great Lakes marketing. That will never leave me, or many of us. So, but this week's sponsor, the Fat Finger. We all know the Fat Finger. It's a staple at any sporting event, graduation, or even 1-year-old birthday party. The FFFL also loves the Fat Finger for drafting teams or dropping players, whatever the occasion is. Trust that a fat finger will always disappoint or let you down. Thank
Yep.
you. That was one of the best sponsors we've had yet. One of
It is
the
not
best.
down.
So that one came about so you obviously had said it, and that was
Yeah.
fine because that does happen. But when Zach said that he also did it for the Jordan Mason drop, I was like, oh my God. Both Alice and I, like at the same time, we're like, we gotta make this a sponsor at some point. And just do one of those big number one foam fingers and make it fat fingers. So.
I'm telling you, fat finger happens, man.
And it always disappoints. There's never a time where you fat fingered something and it went a positive direction.
No, absolutely not.
But I hope you enjoyed that one.
It
All
was
right. Well, Dr. Sam does have an injury report for us. So let's make sure we bring his beautiful blues up onto the screen here. And shut up, Andy, because we got to hear him, okay?
All right, week 3 injury update, sponsored by Tim Hortons. We got Skylar Thompson, quarterback, fill in for Miami Dolphins. Looks like he had a rib injury. Did try to re-enter, so probably not that serious. They do have Tyler Huntley on the bench, so Justin Herbert, LA Chargers quarterback, looks like he re-aggravated his ankle, but still negative MRI or X-ray. So they're likely monitoring for pain, seeing how he does this week. If he does go, he'll probably have decreased rushing just on that ankle. Also to note, Joe Alt, their left tackle, offensive line, did go down, so could be a little bit concerning for him if his blind side is open. Sam Darnold, quarterback for the Vikings, also had a negative MRI for structural damage within the knee. Looks like just a bone bruise, but he should be, full go. Jordan Love was still limited at practice, quarterback for the Packers. Still limited at practice. Sounds like he is still week to week. I don't think they're going to rush him to come back, so he's probably going to wait till he's like 100%, so maybe one more week on him. Devontae Smith, wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, was out with a concussion. No update at this point. Typically with concussions, you're just monitoring the protocol through the week to see. Same thing with Trey McBride, tight end for the Cardinals, was also out with a concussion. Britton Covey, wide receiver for the Eagles as well, just a broken shoulder bone, so unsure exactly if it was like something with the AC or if it was actual like a humeral fracture, but it sounds like he's going to be out for probably about 6 weeks. Van Jefferson, wide receiver, I forget who he plays for now, but he left the game with an eye injury. There's really nothing on the internet right now about what's going on with him. Sam Laporta, tight end for the Lions, did leave the game with a low ankle sprain, but he did come back in. So typically with the low ankles, they're just going to tape those things up and they'll be good to go. Both the running backs for the Steelers were out with injury this week. Najee Harris was seen in a sling, so unsure if it was like an elbow, a shoulder, or what. There has been nothing really released on him yet, so we're waiting on like a press release for that. Jaylen Warren also was out. They said he was getting an MRI for the knee, which doesn't necessarily mean anything because these guys just get MRIs all the time. He did have a preseason like hamstring injury, so unsure if it's just like that's causing more aggravation in the knee. So those two are gonna have to monitor. Amari Cooper, wide receiver for the Browns. I just wrote down a question mark. He like fell awkwardly, and there's currently nothing on the internet yet about that. Adam Thielen, wide receiver for the Panthers. He is out with a hamstring, so likely going to be 2 to 3 weeks just because injury history and the fact that he is a little bit older. And then Jordan Addison looks like he is day-to-day still with the ankle after that week 1 injury, but they are hopeful that he is going to play.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. That was a good report. Some updates that have happened since then. You may know this as well, Andy. I know you're not an expert on injuries, but they did put Adam Thielen on IR. And that just happened today. So he went on IR today. And the other one that is interesting to me, well, I guess I'll say two. One of them is the Pittsburgh Steelers backfield because I knew about Jalen Warren at first, and then I heard about Najee, and I was like, oh, because I was thinking once Jalen Warren, if he's going out, he's questionable. Hey, Najee, could be a nice steady guy, but then you see Najee's hurt. I don't even know who their third guy is. So, Cordero Patterson. So it'll probably be Cordero Patterson if neither of those guys can go. You excited to play a Cordero Patterson, Andy? You might as well.
He's like the guest that will never leave a party. He just keeps showing up. First of all, to Sam's credit here, you really had him working hard this year because he had to talk about
Britton Covey.
Some people.
Yeah. Listen, it's part of the contract. This is how I also basically told him you got to earn sponsors, and if you're going to do it like you did, I can't get these top-notch sponsors like I did last year,
Well, I'm just going to tell you, he had to dig deep on that one. But I'm still waiting for the first turf toe injury to show.
Hopefully Nurse Haley will be on for that one.
Oh,
but maybe he brought him Covey, and this is legitimate because I think so. If AJ Brown is out, and let's say Devonta Smith goes through concussion protocol, maybe Covey was the next guy up, and if Covey's also hurt, so you might have a lot of faith in Jahan Dotson or Dallas Goedert, right? So maybe that's why he brought up Mr. Covey and Van Jefferson. Pittsburgh Steelers offense, unless George Pickens, has he really done much anyways? I don't, not a whole lot so far. And even though Fields look good, I mean, if you had Calvin Austin on your team this week, you could have done well, I guess. But otherwise, like, meh. Even Freiermuth has been kind of meh, nothing's really mattered. So, but and the only other one I want to mention because I saw that of the Los Angeles Chargers alt going out with an MCL sprain. He'll be out for at least a couple weeks, probably, if not longer. That's what Jordan Love has. Yeah, but he's actually been a huge addition to that line. So if you're looking at a J.K. Dobbins or a Gus Edwards that you got to play, I think you just got to think twice about it. And is that going to work for us? So like any damage to that line, he was an important part to it, even though he's a rookie. He's been playing great. Maybe the Bears or somebody should have got that guy. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I was a little confused on what you posted on our text chain because it looked like the whole Bears line was hurt, just all laying on the ground. And I was like, what the hell?
Somebody put it on Facebook, and I was like, you're kidding. I'm like watching it, and doesn't it look pitiful? It looks like the most pitiful thing.
They're all just laying on the ground. Like,
I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop. And the one guy who's like closest to the ball carrier, Swift, is like looks like he's trying to jump for him or I'll save you kind of deal.
I agree.
Bad.
Oh my God.
Oh, that one made me laugh. That was great. Terrible play call, by the way. That was a terrible play call at the time, anyways. But they deserved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you, Dr. Sam, for the injury update. And he did dig deep. He did go deep, and I appreciate that.
That means you got to look at.
Yeah.
So you got to go deep.
Yeah, of course. I like it. Thank you, Andy.
I'm dealing with Debo. He's got to get that calf right.
That's true.
Debo. Come on now.
Even CMC, he didn't put this in there, and I heard this that CMC is being sent to Germany for a specialty doctor on that calf too, and the Achilles in general. So CMC may be out longer than we all think. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's a conspiracy theory. I think CMC is going over there for Oktoberfest, going to enjoy
Ah,
himself for a while. Then he's going to come back for the playoffs. Be right, boom.
boom. Yeah,
Just,
that's true. They're just trying to give him some rest. I can understand that. So, Glenn, if you want to trade me CMC for somebody, I'm happy.
for a
I'll
few
listen.
Oktoberfest beers, I'll trade you.
Yeah, I do like that's a good beer, and we're getting to falls. It's nice, but let's just say you had some QB issues, like a Sam Darnold gets his knee bruised, and maybe he's not feeling up for it this week, and just doesn't want to go out there. Anybody on here that you might highlight to plug into your lineup?
And I don't know exactly who they're playing because part of it's blocked. But I mean, Daniel Jones is hit and miss. I mean, David Carr, Daniel Jones, you could interchange them. They can hit big or they can give you 3 points. So he's one. Bo Nix looked promising the other day. He played
Yep,
better,
he did.
played much better. Will Levis is stupid. Um,
Yeah, he doesn't make. It's funny. He actually had like fantasy
yeah,
football
good game,
wise a good game, but
but he just made stupid judgments sometimes. It's like, oh my God. And then you see
it's
him in that mayonnaise commercial. It's like, what the hell?
yeah, we're going in his coffee or something in it. Like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so weird. That's a weird one. But
But no,
what?
going on track here. Andy Dalton is a good fill-in, but he's temporary.
Yep, he is. I would agree, but I would say on this list, he's the one I'm going for. I mean, the Dallas defense, while they obviously hadn't been great, but like they have potential to be. I think the losing of Dan Quinn is an important part of that defense, so that hurt them. But they still
Yeah,
have talent there, and you got guys that can get to the passer. Bo Nix going against the Jets defense. Yeah, I don't want to play them usually, especially passing wise. Like another great defense. I don't know what's happened to Cleveland. I think that part's kind of weird. But they're last year they were one of the top defenses. So to me, Dalton is the guy to get. I mean, Cincinnati didn't look good against Daniels. Now Dalton is completely different than a Jaden Daniels, and you got to scheme it different. But looks like they could be attacked through the air. So Andy Dalton probably is the best one on here. And the only I did you notice that Jameis Winston has 3/10 of a point projected?
I see that.
Oh, what do you think of that?
I think again, Cleveland just makes bad choice after bad choice, and they paid all this guaranteed money to somebody that's pedestrian at best, and they may have to eat a whole lot of cash.
To me, the craziest part about that not other than the contract itself and why you would do that, was why you would do that. Like all that stuff was out at the time they made the decision. Like all the stuff about like I mean, like we'll get the legalities of technically he's like because he settled out of court with all these people. But when that's all out there, that's what amazed me the most. I'm like, why would you take a chance? I mean, the personality and leadership, especially at the quarterback position, is so important. And why would you? I can understand taking a low grade risk, a lot less money, but to do the biggest contract of like all time at that point on that, holy cow, what are we doing?
I would have done a prove me contract on it first,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe loaded it towards the back, saying if you
Yeah,
hit the
but
incentive, then we can sign you to a contract. But he hasn't proven himself for nothing.
here's why I'm throwing this out there, Andy. I'm putting Andy Dalton as my number one and Jameis Winston as my number two. Because for them to put any sort of point projection on a backup quarterback means that they think if this game doesn't go well, then that means that he is that Deshaun Watson, you're out of here. You are no longer the starting quarterback. And Jameis, we've seen him have good fantasy years. He could be the next guy up. He is next guy up, but he could be playing by next week. So just a thought. If you're wanting to take a gamble and throw some dice out there, he might be one that you could put it on. So,
Somebody knows something.
yep. In Vegas, they Yeah, they got a little bit of knowledge there. And randomly, they're playing Vegas next week. Isn't that interesting?
Interesting.
Ooh, conspiracy theories now. Now let's go
Yeah.
to the waiver wire running back. So we have Rico Dowdle, whom I dropped on this list at the very top. Hey, Cordero's there. I didn't even look at it. I'm not kidding. I did not look at this beforehand. I just knew Rico was on there, and there's maybe a couple guys I'd say something about, but I just knew about Rico. Anybody on here that you're interested in, or that you might even say, hey, this might look great, but stay away from?
Well, did you fat finger Rico?
I actually did not.
Okay. Well, Cordero, I I have no interest in him. I think who's kind of intriguing. I've always liked Rashawn Johnson, and I don't know why he hasn't taken off. You probably have a better idea than I do why he hasn't taken off, because I thought I mean, he's a good physical athlete. He looks good. He can catch the ball from what what I've seen. But I
Mm-hmm.
think Ray Davis is probably the one I'd probably pick up and stash. If anything, it's an insurance against James Cook. But he looked really good last night, and he's young and a good-looking running back.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he is a good pickup for people. And you asked if I fat fingered Rico Dowdle. It was basically between him and Chase Brown, and this is going to sound weird, but for me, I wasn't quite sure where that resided. And what I will say is he's projected for 11.8 points, and that may happen because it does seem like it's shifting towards his backfield now. It was Zeke mostly in the beginning, and then it's kind of shifted towards Rico, but he has yet to reach double digits this year. So even in his game where he got the most, Baltimore's a tough defense, but like still. Uh, I just be cautious there. And Roshan, I'm with you. I like him a lot, and I believe he actually started the game. Like I'm not kidding. He was out there in the beginning on that first drive running the ball.
Well,
And he
if
and
his
he has
offensive
shifted.
line's laying down on him, he's not going to do much.
Right. That's my worry. So that would be where I'd say it does actually, that's also shifting that same direction as Dowdle. So it was Roshan was actually was inactive game one, a healthy scratch game one. Game two, I think he got in for like 10% snaps, not even. And now game three, he did almost 40% snaps. So that's going the opposite way. So your point, Andy, that's a good call out of Roshan on that. And Ray Davis, a lot of his stuff came in garbage time. They were way up, but he looks good. He's a good backup to have if you have James Cook, especially, or if you just want
Absolutely.
to handcuff with somebody. So,
Yep.
and the last guy I'm going to call out because he does impact something else is the Tyler, and it actually is pronounced Bidet. So he is the Denver running back that came in, and I think he rushed the ball 9 times for like 70 yards. So he's gotten like more yardage already than Javante in just one game. So it has not gone well. But yeah, he might be a guy that ends
So
up taking over that backfield. Who knows?
he played ass time. Yeah.
Probably. I just wanted to bring him
Clean,
up.
cleaned up.
Yeah, I just
Cleaned
wanted
up.
to bring him up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Bidet. I
Uh,
like,
yeah, I gotta.
some people are just so mean how they,
You
maybe they
know,
invented it, but maybe they invented it. Who knows?
who knows? I don't know either, but you're right. I mean, he cleaned up Javante's shit, so like that's what happened there. Maybe it
Exactly.
is that, but it looks like Beatty. It looks like that's how you pronounce it is Beatty. So for it to be Bidet, and he actually said no, it's pronounced Bidet himself. He said that. So
And
all right,
let's do ancestry on him and see if he's related.
yes, we'll do that. He has no rights. They're claiming no rights to this.
Okay.
Quick little note. This is a quick note because the Corbels are impacted by this. So Allison and Sam, their last name, is Corbo or Corbell, as some people pronounce it, like the champagne, right? So apparently, we were told a story at Sam's wedding recently by their cousin that they went to the Corbell place in California, and because they saw that their last name like was linked, they actually made them sign some agreement that says like that you are not a part of this like stuff and all this crap because they came with the
Oh,
Corval name. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
I know, I
Sarah,
thought so too. And she loved it. She said it was a great tour and they got a lot of free stuff and it's actually really good stuff. They got a lot of stuff. So she highly recommended the tour, but she thought that was funny. That was interesting. So
that's
I thought
kind
it
of
was
like a
cool.
slap in the face at the end, going, "Oh, thanks. Okay,
Yeah,
wow."
exactly. Well, I think they did that at the beginning. So in the beginning, you get like punched down, but then they're going to give you all this champagne and this wine and other stuff to make you feel better about what they just did.
See
So
what see what you could have been.
yes, get out of here now. Uh, anyways, I don't know why I gave a French accent. I think they're like that's like a German name. Who knows? I don't know.
Made in
Any
California.
Anywho, all right, now let's head over to the waiver wire wide receivers. We have a pretty deep list on here. I don't know what that means, but you did hear about Adam Thielen going on IR and having the injury, and therefore, and Carolina looked good. Deontay Johnson, who I did not start because I was not at all didn't know what was going to happen but he needs somebody else, alongside him. And so maybe one of these guys could do it. I don't know. What do you think, Andy? Is there anybody on here where you think, hey, that could be a good pickup for somebody?
Um, there's a lot of talk about Wendell Robinson, but every time anybody's talked about him, they've kind of disappointed. If Andy Dalton is still going to play,
Which
I'm
he
kind of
is.
surprised that Leggett was dropped by Meow Meow.
But that was
Um,
before all this happened. So I mean, I don't know.
right.
That was before they even announced Andy Dalton as
But
going
I
to be
think
the starter.
he'd be a good pickup. But one I'm going to go to is I kind of like this Michael Wilson, and I've been kind of keeping my eye on him because I think he's in an offense that's producing.
Hmm.
Possibly McBride's out for a week with a concussion. You
Yep.
got some. I mean, he's a good receiver, but then again, this kid from Cincinnati,
Yoshivas.
Yoshivash, looked really, really good last night. I mean, he looks like he's got the tools to become, um, a number two for sure.
Yep.
But
It's
he looked
interesting.
really good.
That's an
So
interesting wide receiver grouping, I would say, in Cincinnati right now because T. Higgins
absolutely.
came back. And
Oh,
so you're
Yashivish, I can't pronounce it very good, but he is definitely a step up over Tyler Boyd was,
Yep.
even when Tyler Boyd was good. You
Yep.
know, I
Agreed.
think he's a really good player, and I think he could elevate to be at least a good number two. And
Yep.
I liked the way he looked last night.
I agree. He did. He looked great, and they're playing Carolina, and it seems as though Cincinnati does not have a great defense, and therefore two bad defenses in the same game. Like
Point.
I know this could be a really nice one. So you've highlighted some good ones here, Andy. I like what you've done there because even Michael Wilson going against the Commanders, another bad defense. So you have in Arizona, the Cardinals. Guess what? Bad defense. So those could be some guys where yeah, you get some surprising production. And if you just feel like taking a gamble, I think that's a good way to go. Romeo Dobbs is
Yeah,
one
and
I
there'll
still
be
have
six.
faith in. You what?
I said there'll be 6-3 games now because
I know. Now we've said it. It's
we've
like,
talked.
yeah, but their offenses are good. So that's the good part. Is like the offense for
They
the
are.
Cardinals is good. Obviously, the Commanders is good. They look good against Cincinnati. And now
And
you have Cincinnati who has a
yep.
good offense going to Carolina that looked so much better with Andy Dalton. And they have pieces there. They have weapons in Carolina. They spent money to make that team good. And so it will be interesting. But yeah, a lot of interesting names on here, including I would go with Leggett. If you're looking at Carolina to see Adam Thielen's replacement, maybe they're doing better with Andy Dalton. I'm with you. I'd go Leggett over Jonathan Mingo. And I'm also with you to say I have picked up Wandale on multiple teams before, and every time you finally get decided to play him, it just yeah, he needs a bidet afterwards. So that's what ends up happening. So
Good lead way.
yeah. So now we're going to go into the tight end realm, and here we got a lot of dart throws. I think any place that you're trying to throw your dart.
Yeah, Travis Kelsey. I wish he'd start fucking playing, but Uh, I don't know. I mean, Noah Fant's been hit and miss. Colby Parkinson, was he out last week? Because I think he was.
I know he's questionable. He's going against Chicago, which I think is a tough part, though.
And but then, even Conklin had a really good week this week, but he's hit and miss. And you never know where Rodgers is going to throw the ball from week to week. So it's a dart throw. Take your pick.
Actually, I'm going to highlight Conklin because yes, he is a solid tight end. He has been a solid receiver. The reason I'm actually going to highlight him is Patrick Surtain has shut down every single top wide receiver that he's played, and I think he's gonna be shutting down Garrett Wilson, or at least trying to. So I feel like they're gonna go maybe to Garrett Wilson less, and I say that also because if you remember, I think it was this past week. It was after this past week's game, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, when they were kind of asking Rodgers why Wilson wasn't performing as well or why he's not getting the ball. And Rodgers basically said, like, well, people are scheming to take him out. And so to me, what that tells me is like, if they're going to take him out, Rodgers isn't even going to look that way, and he's going to throw somewhere else, which is where Tyler Conklin or somebody else could maybe benefit from that.
True. But
So,
don't forget about Alan Lazard.
No, you're probably right, Kyle. We'll talk about, you know what? We're going to talk about it here in a little bit. Maybe that's where it goes. I like it, Andy. Segue in there, but we're not so fast. But yeah, any of these guys, I'm like, nah, I don't know. Gasicki, I didn't even tell you no because Yoshi Boss looked good. T. Higgins is back. Jamar Chase went off. I mean, I'm actually going to say no to that guy, but I'm not chasing waterfalls, Andy. So,
nope.
But we do have Trade Central.
Kelsey.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
Kelsey is a waterfall. So we got Trade Central, So
yeah, big trade.
You and Allison make a trade. Now I gotta hear your perspective on it, being that you're both in a similar spot of being 0-3 now. You're both 0-2 at the time. You're trying to take a stab at Debo, who is injured. What was your thought process within that, knowing like you might need some victories now yourself as well?
Well, again, noticing that I'm not an expert. She had offered Malik Neighbors for Javante and for Drake London. And I'm not ready to give up on Drake London yet. And I thought that was a little too much.
Sure.
And I'm not.
And Drake London looked good, by the way, for a second week in a row.
He's looked better.
Yeah.
Looked better. I would agree. But then again, the 2-for-1, I was like, I still got to have some kind of running back on my bench that even if they can get me 8-9 points, I got to have somebody.
Sure.
And I knew Debo was hurt, and even Tajay was questionable, but
he was
too, because she needed people that could start right away. She was hurting, so I knew at least they could start for her. They didn't do shit. I'm sorry, Allison. I love you.
That happens.
But I'm sitting here with two players that didn't score me any points. So I'm taking a gamble. I'm looking at hopefully if I'm not out of the playoffs after the 5th week, then maybe I have a chance. But I kind of am hoping when Debo comes back, he's to himself and I have a strong receiver there. And and Tajay, man, the other reason I like Tajay Spears, Tajay Spears, I like him. And I just don't know if Tony Pollard is a long haul workhorse at his size, So I think there'll be opportunities down the road for him too. And that was my thinking. And, I think Pickens will still have a decent year, but I don't think he's going to have a Drake London year.
Yeah, he will not have a Drake London year. He will probably have – no, he will. No, he's going to have the Drake London year of last year. He's going to have, at best, less than 1,000 yards, even though he's been targeted a bunch of times and stuff. That offense does not really go towards it. However, he is like that kind of player where he's really the only great receiving option they have. And so that's the good part there.
But again, with the injuries at running back, they might start throwing the ball a little bit more.
They could.
So it could be a good thing for her in that. And I like Javonte Williams. I just don't, I wasn't hip about giving him up, but man, I just don't know why they can't get on track there. I know their offensive line's not the best in the world, but I thought he'd do better than this because he's a pass catcher. I mean,
Yep. He's still
he's very
catching balls. I mean, I think he caught 4 passes for like 30 yards this week, so he's still catching balls. But in a half PPR league, when you're not scoring touchdowns on those, it's just not going to be as valuable, but still.
We may have to put that up for vote next year again.
Sure. To go to full PPR, you want to go? You want to
Yeah,
switch it?
my mind a little bit.
Well, here's what I'll say about it. I think she was taking it a gamble too because with Javante, he had a poor week 1, but week 2 he got more run, a little better, at least got into double digits. So you're looking at it hoping, okay, maybe it's turning towards Javante's way. And then George Pickens, she said, like you said, needed somebody to start, right away for her in that spot. So therefore, that's why she went towards that. So that's kind of where that trade wraps up. And I agree, it's funny because she played, I think, both of the players, and they didn't do well, and you didn't play either on any of the players that you got in the trade, which is just kind of funny as you think about it. So I like that.
One was out, and the other one I knew wasn't.
Yep.
I didn't think they were going to do much. So yeah.
Yep.
Which
all right. Matter. Well, now AI did. Oh, AI did what?
AI beat me.
Yeah, AI beat you pretty badly. Speaking of Javante, we have Javante or Godwin. Obviously Godwin's still doing well. He had a lesser of a game this week, but he's still near 15 points with a touchdown. Mike Evans didn't do much, and Javante had a rough week. He dropped 3 spots from 38. Chris Godwin dropped from 1st to 3rd, but still, I'll take Godwin at 3. How you feeling about that one, Andy?
I probably should have made the trade.
Probably should have made it. Yep. Hindsight is 2020.
I probably should have went for Godwin and give up Javante, and then I could have looked for another backup running back somewhere. But yeah, that's a bad call on mine.
It happens. I called it too. I said no to that one.
But year's not over yet. Let's see what happens.
So Zach was correct on that one. And we're still going to track it, even if Javante ends up dropped in our league, we'll still track it. Comment of the week, I put it on. I thought it was hilarious, and so did I think Allison said it. Someone else laughed at it too. But when Kyle basically he was getting back into the messages and saw that we had all these messages catching up, and comment to Zach after all the trade stuff about like, hey, I thought we weren't supposed to, like, we were supposed to ignore your trades. And I love that he brought that up. That was so funny. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was perfect. Any comments that stuck out to you that you got a good chuckle out of?
There were a few out there, but shit, it was like between you and him.
Yeah.
I stepped away for a while, and then I looked at my text. There was 93 of them I hadn't read, and I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" And then here's the one thing, and I've Googled it. I looked at my owner's manual. I cannot shut off my text notification in my car to where when you two start going back and forth, my car says ding, 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 and Joanne's like, can you not shut that off? I'm like, I have been trying. So the next time I take it in for its maintenance, I'll ask him, can you shut off my text notification?
I can try to help you. You just got FaceTime with me, Andy. But yeah, we probably shouldn't be arguing via text message anyways. So it's probably not good. But we're both people that feel big, whichever way that rolls, and we're both feeling big there.
Well, I hate to ask Joanne to drive just because I get notifications that are annoying and stuff. So, not to mention it's a little scary. But
I was gonna say you're trying to staying alive, staying alive. Yeah,
can you delete this from that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good comment by Kyle. So kudos to you. Cheers to you, Kyle, for comment of the week.
Good ones.
Yeah. All right, next up, I'm going to hide us for this one because I've added some stuff here Andy?
What?
Okay. So this is where we sit after week 3. So we have the standings like we always do. With this big week in the high scoring week that high scoring game of the week that he had, Zach vaults up to first place. He's about 10 points ahead of me, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm at second. So we're both at 3-0. Then it goes Louie at 2-1, Kyle at 1-2, and then wrapping with Allison and Glenn at the bottom at 0-3. And in the West, you have Sam at the top 3-0, the only undefeated in that division. Then you have Bob underneath him at 2-1, along with Case's Aces at 2-1. The AI is at least third for you. I said I wasn't going to say that again. You all bring that shit
AI,
up.
baby.
I leave it be
So
now.
just
He's
rename
managing a
it
team.
AI.
The interesting part is I talked to him about it, and he was like, it didn't matter. He's like, literally, I was going to do the same exact thing the AI did, like the computer did. I would just take the best player available every time is what was going to happen. So what does it matter? I was like, I kind of agree. If you're gonna, that's how you roll, then that is what's going to happen. So it's about the same team you would have had. Then EJ at 1-2, Tyler at 1-2, and you at the bottom at 0-3. Andy, I don't mean to rub it in, but I'm adding this other piece to the puzzle at the bottom. It shows like throughout the year, it'll show us our stats as well as where we sit in the league in general. So yes, we have our East and West divisions, but this will easily show us where we sit rank wise amongst all 12. And as you can see, you have the top 3 teams at 3-0 there, and then you have I think 3 teams at 2-1, rounding that out, and then they're going to be ordered by points for. So nothing else besides that, but it'll go basically the winner or like the win loss record, and then it'll go points for at that. What you're noticing is, Andy, you see Bob almost has 400 points, man, and he's not 3-0, but he has a dangerous team there. That is
Well, it is a dangerous team, but I see the problem for Glenn and I, and it's we can fix this, but
Hello, Andy, are you there? No, we've lost Andy. He said he'd fix it. I hope he can fix his. Hope he can fix this part. Andy, come back to me. Andy, come back. One of the things that I like on here, even though I can't hear Andy one bit, and hopefully he comes back in some way, shape, or form, but he's lost something. I'll let him know that I have lost him. You back, Andy?
can you hear me? It's I gotta quit making jokes about AI. They came after
Fucking with
me.
you. Fucking with you.
They came after me, but I don't know if you heard my comment.
No, you
But,
said
I
here's what
think
Glenn and I can
Glenn
do.
and I can fix that. Yeah, we're outscored by 100 points. We'll fix that.
Okay, I like to hear that. I like to hear you're gonna fix that.
That's
Um,
yeah.
the but the
Not
other
sure
thing I
how,
like
but
on
we'll fix
here
it.
is we can track who has the most moves. And so far, the Logis family has the most moves of anybody. Maybe us combined, who knows? But they are making most of the moves, meaning trades, meaning free agent pickups, whatever. That's what that means. So, and very interesting. Andy, you got
Now,
6 of them.
huh?
You got 6 of them. Are you normally one that's like near the top of your leagues in amount of moves made?
I can be, and quite frankly, you and I've talked. I don't like our new waiver item, but that's another discussion for another day. But I can be, but I can explain Louis. He is a button punching fool. He likes to punch buttons. He's doing this all the time. So yeah.
Okay.
And I catch him at work on his computer making moves. So, and he's my boss. Shit. What does that tell you? Leader sets the pace.
Yeah, it tells us that he's 2-1 while you're 0-3. So
Yeah.
maybe you guys start
Hey.
making more moves at work.
Unfortunately, I don't even want to go into it. My
And we won't.
cubicle is not in the most appropriate place.
Advantageous spot.
Yeah, yeah. But nah, he makes a lot of moves. I know he's like streaming defenses and stuff, so
Yep.
that's part of it as well.
Yep.
And but I'm not trying to make moves just to make moves. But
I get it.
yeah, he's a button punching fool, that's for sure.
Well, I'm normally near the top, and surprisingly, I'm near the bottom in this one. But kind of similar to you, it's like, well, I'm trying to be a little more like cautious with my moves, and like you said, making a move that makes sense, and maybe analyzing the move more than I am to say how does it also fit my team. That's
Right.
probably where that goes. Of I never really do that enough. It's just the hot item on the waiver wire. Now sometimes you do go for that. Like a Jordan Mason is somebody that everybody should go for, right? Like that makes sense, even no matter what team you have, because he's going to be better than other stuff. But we're talking about a boom bust kind of player. Well, do I already have a bunch of those, and do I really want to add another one? Like I'm trying to think of it more in that realm of, do I need that style of player rather than, oh, did they play well and maybe they're hot right now, I need to pick them up. So
I
that's where it goes. But that's
agree.
where we sit. I'm going to try to keep it like this moving forward, Andy. We could talk about that later, but I'm going to try it out for a few weeks and see what we think. But I like kind of looking at it holistically as well. So not just the divisions, being able to see how many points each team has scored, maybe touch on that, and a few other things in here. All right. I'm going to bring our beautiful faces back up, Andy, because the crowd needs to see them. So we have our first. Oh yeah, I should probably bring this down. I hate all this. I gotta figure this out a little different next time, Andy. Maybe that's what it is. It's right there. You just do that. Beautiful. I figured it out while you're on here. So I have worst versus first because we have Glenn, who is truly at the very bottom of the East, at the bottom of the league right now. Sorry, Glenn. It feels like it's just ever going. Um, Against Zach. So the projection is way ahead. There are some reasons for that. Cam Akers is projected for 0 points. So that could be one of those reasons. He doesn't have anybody there, but
I try to
still
replace
still a very low projection. We talked about Andrews earlier, and Andrews has a lower projection than I think I've ever seen the man have in a game. So kind of tough. Anything you're pulling away from this? What do you think? Do you think the outcome is going to go the way that the AI thinks it's going to go?
Well, Zach's starting lineup's pretty stout, so good luck.
Agreed. Um, the only thing that I would, I made a few notes about it. I wonder if he would do a different flex than Jalen Waddle, knowing the QB situation keeps changing over. Maybe he's trying to go for it. I think Tennessee has a pretty good defense as well, but just wonder if he'd go for like a McLaurin or a Jawan Jennings if Debo and Kittle stay injured and Purdy plays, because Purdy's also hurt. So I don't. He's at least up with a questionable tag, so hopefully Purdy's okay to play. But would you make any of those moves, like of changing wide receiver for Waddle at all, or because I
Yeah,
ask you because you're a Dolphins fan and you know the team
I
decently
would.
well.
I think I think the Dolphins' offense is going to be trash for a while because they don't really have a quarterback. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you put Huntley in, is Huntley picked
Well, they're
up by
showing
them?
Tim Boyle. They're showing Boyle as the
Tim
starter right now.
Well, yeah, Tim Boyle. He don't
But
impress me.
Huntley is a guy
Is
that Sam
a
mentioned.
running quarterback.
Yeah. But he
So
looked good when he was at the Ravens 2 years ago when he had to back up Lamar.
yeah,
Like he actually looked good in that, but he did not look great last year during his backup stints there. So that's kind of the tough part to know where he comes from.
I
But
just think Miami is going to struggle for a while. And again, going into my I don't know how many years of frustration, but yeah, I mean Waddle's as good as anything he's got out there, and I don't, I wouldn't play Ayuk and Jennings together personally because I think
that's
it's too
true.
much. So he's going to have to pick which one he wants to do. But why are we picking on him? I mean, Glenn, come on, you got a couple zeros there you got to fill. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know. For Cam Akers, I think he might. who knows if he plays. I know Pierce is still questionable. Mixon is still questionable technically. So, but I don't know if either one of those guys is actually going to play. I kind of threw out there if you'd make a QB change. I mean, Anthony
I
Richardson
would,
hasn't.
but he doesn't have one, does he? He doesn't
Caleb
have one.
Williams against the Rams. The Rams are 31st right now against the pass. I mean, I think the Rams are a team that you could target with the passing attack, and the Bears have looked better each week. Their line sucks, but hey, maybe you can take advantage. Him and Roma Dunze's connection. My goodness, Roma Dunze had himself a game.
Yeah, I
Um,
put Williams in definitely.
So that could be just you would never think of it because Anthony Richardson, you drafted him to be your top guy, but right now he's the 18th number 18 quarterback. I don't know what Caleb Williams is, but I know they're going but and he's going against Pittsburgh, which has been a top-notch defense so far this year, whereas Caleb Williams is kind of on the rise and going against a much weaker defense in the Arizona in the LA Rams. Sorry, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting. But that's one of the notes that I had for him, and maybe you throw in even a Jaden. I don't know if you throw Jaden Reed in there because maybe like you're saying, if you get Akers out of
Minnesota,
there,
Minnesota's been playing pretty well though on defense, but
my thought is if Love comes back, maybe you could do that to replace an Akers, meaning you can move Charbonnet if he's still the starter up into that, role as your running back role and put Jaden to flex. There's a couple options there, but also tough because what if Ken Walker comes back this week? Well, now he's out Charbonnet and maybe Akers, and now you got to figure that out too. So lots of things he's got to worry about, but this one leans heavily towards Zach, and seems like he might be taking it. So let's move on to the next one. We're staying in the East. It's going to be Kyle, and yeah, here we go at 1-2. Guys, first victory this week versus Pretty Good with Allison. Hurt but not out is what I put here because both teams are actually fairly injured and have been. Like obviously Allison had to replace her quarterback, and then both of her quarterbacks after she did that come up with questionable tags this week. Even after doing that, Pacheco goes out for her. I know that Kyle had multiple injuries like impacting him. I thought if I remember correctly, like Puka Nakua or somebody may have been one of them, or somebody else, or Cooper Cup, something like that. But both have to kind of battle back from some injuries and put some interesting stuff out there. What do you think? What do you say in this matchup that looks pretty darn close?
it does look pretty close. I just I know she picked up Steele, and I don't. He's going
Yep.
up against Angeles Chargers, so I don't think that's a good matchup. I think they're going to have to throw the ball there, even though, I mean, Chargers pretty good defense. So
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
I think she's kind of maybe stuck. She could maybe put him in for Javante and take because he's up against a tough matchup too. So
Right. The Jets are not an easy team to face. So she has a lot of things that she's got to look at, yeah, to replace potentially Javante because he did not look good again, and he's going against New York Jets defense. That's a really good defense. She also might have a QB issue. We'll see. It sounded like from what Dr. Sam said, Sam Darnold is okay and should probably be out there. But the Purdy news, I don't know what exactly that is, but he's got a questionable tag too, so she might have to have another QB that
yeah,
she ends up getting on. She might be picking up the Red Rocket and putting him on her
Red
team.
Rifle. He's the Red
Oh,
Rifle.
my bad. The
Red
Red
Rifle.
Rifle. But she might be putting him on there, so who knows? But
That
we
wouldn't
will
be a
see, but
bad.
very close. Yeah, very, very close battle. So we'll see how that goes. And important part in the East, honestly, because it could be both 1-3, or it could be 2-2 and 0-4 teams going the opposite direction, depending on how that goes. Next up is the top of the East battle. We're number 2 and 3 in the East right now. Me versus Louie. He's always a tough challenger because he's a smart man when it comes to a lot of this stuff, and so I trust a lot of the plays that he makes and think that they're gonna. What does he know that I don't? I got to figure it out. But this is my projection so far. As Dr. Sam said, Trey McBride might be somebody that I got to replace, so I might have to be finding a tight end out there, and I don't currently have one on my roster to replace. So
Ooh,
So there may be another player out there for people to pick up. Who knows?
So
Soon.
to note, anybody that wants to spike Greg, pick up the tight end that he wants. And I think
Yes.
he Conklin earlier tonight.
But maybe that was to throw off the scent. You don't know.
We'll see.
um, well, the funny part is, don't worry, I will be making no waiver claims on any tight ends because if they still have projections for McBride, I'm not going to drop somebody yet. So I'll have to wait it out, which might mean that yes, I come back with some poor options for tight end. Maybe the whole league can just start picking them up and to spite me as well, like you said. But um, anything you see in this matchup or anything of note as to which way you're leaning?
Oh, it's gonna be a good. I think it'll be a good matchup. There's some good matchups on paper as far as some of these guys go, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be a tight. I think this will be one of the closer ones. If I were you, I'd probably put Corum in for Kyron Williams and let him play.
Well, that is one that does worry me, and I say it only to say that I don't imagine he's going to hit that projection of 22.8 points against the Chicago Bears defense. That I think is a tough challenge, but I mean, McVay is the guy who could scheme that up if anybody could. What I noted is more of Louis has a mix of like great matchups for his players and bad matchups for his players. You know what I mean? Versus where I actually do like a lot of my matchups, except for Chicago and see like my running backs. That's where I'm kind of worried, is I feel like those two starting running backs are the things I'm worried about the most to say whether or not they're going to be able to hit their projection. And therefore, that's
Yeah.
why I'm also leaving Shaheed in that flex spot to hope I can get a nice boom game from him that might help the lack of production that I'll probably get from those running backs. So that's kind of how
I
I'm
think
playing it this
I
week.
think he's okay with Montgomery because Seattle's traveling to Detroit, but Stevenson going up against San Francisco across the country will be a tough one. The Buffalo, even Lamar Jackson against Buffalo is going to be a good game. Um, and the other concern I would have is CD Lamb has not really been. I have him in another league. He's not been hitting expectations,
Yeah,
and I don't care how bad one team is or the other, but every time Dallas plays the Giants, it's a low scoring affair and it's just not
interesting.
much fun to watch.
Good
That's
to
my
note. But we do have the Detroit Lions backfield. So he's playing Monty, kind of that steady thumper there.
idea.
And I got Gibbs. So it's actually really interesting. I didn't notice that till just now. I should probably do more research when I make these shows. But so far, Monty has had more points than Gibbs, but they're two different types of players, and we'll see how that is impacted there. I think we'll keep that battle going. So, Louis, I'm looking forward to it. Oh, the other thing I'll say is I think we're both maybe going with different defenses. I know I am. I don't really want to face this Minnesota offense right now. I don't care what the defense is. I don't really want to face the O'Connell offense. So I'll probably be choosing a different defense this week.
Smart.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we're starting going back to the West now. So we're getting out of the East and moving to the West. We have worst versus first in points, is what I'm saying for Bob. You are not lowest in points, Andy. Don't worry, I'm not saying that. But you are 0-3 in the West, and he is the highest scoring team in the league. So big challenge, man. What are you gonna do?
I can't believe you said worst against first, and then your brother-in-law is first technically. So what the
Well,
hell?
you see, I put points wise.
Oh,
I
point.
clarified.
Well, you know what? I don't know. It's
I don't know.
I didn't. I'm just going to throw it out there and see what happens. Someday, hopefully, Kelsey comes alive.
Yeah,
Not real happy with Rashad. And Bijan is just Bijan. He's going to get you high teens. If he gets into the 20s, I'll be shocked. So there's
yeah.
some things. I got some trickeration up my sleeve. So
Okay, I like it.
did like Shaquille last night, man. He played well. I was real happy with that.
Yeah. He did.
Shakir?
I mean, he's their leading receiver, and it looks like he will be for the remainder of the season. I mean, Keon Coleman is messing up. Did you hear why he didn't play? He basically didn't play,
Oh,
I don't think.
no.
He
Why?
was late.
What?
He was late.
Well, there you go.
Yep. So that's a young man learning a lesson right there. You're late. Oh, you're late. This wasn't that important. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we just
I'm,
like
I'm coming
he's
for you,
Antonio
Bob.
Pierce.
I'm
Huh?
coming for you, Bob. I'm coming.
That and Bob had a tough time with Tyler, this past week. So we shall see. Um the only thing I will say is again, this is where it comes to matchups. I don't love your matchups, very much. Buffalo's been a really good defense. New Orleans, a good defense. The Chargers are a good defense. Baltimore has shown they're a good defense. So I'm not
Can we just move to the next
not
game?
loving it, but I do like Bob's matchups for the most part. Sorry. Except for Mooney. He's got Mooney. He's saying that Mooney is going to outperform London. That's what he's saying right now. I'm just letting you know. He did change out Jamison Williams though. I noticed that he put Brian Robinson in or instead of Jamison Williams for this week. Jamison Williams did not provide him any sort of points really last week, so he has made that adjustment here. Which get more of like a steadier guy in Brian Robinson, especially against the Arizona Cardinal defense. But it'll be a tough task, Andy. But you got this, man. You
Well,
got.
hopefully Kelsey beats the Swifties.
Oh yeah.
That would be good.
So yeah, Bob also was throwing some shade that way too. Didn't realize that.
I know, yeah.
Well, Andy, I hope you win. I really do. I don't like to see anybody 0-3. I like to see everybody with at least one win on the season.
That would be 0-4. So
We'll see.
I hope I win too. Moving to the next game.
Next up, we have middle matchup. This is Casey going against EJ. So the Cases Aces against them Cheesehead Champs. And this one actually has the highest, I think, total combined total on the week and very close projected total as well. Both teams, I think, are very solid. As also for me, his team rolls so much with what is Mahomes going to do, and that's been the tough part so far this year and even last year that Mahomes just hasn't had to do as much. So that's kind of where his team ebbs and flows. What say you? Not an expert.
Well, if Laporta doesn't play, he needs to pick up a tight end. If I don't know, I just hate to see AI win.
Yeah,
But
he's
he's pretty solid. He got a good team.
got a couple open spots too, so he doesn't have to drop anybody. He just needs to pick up
Just
people.
pick up people. He can just start picking up people. Start pushing buttons, Louis.
Yeah, Casey doesn't listen to this anyway, so don't worry.
Okay.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, Garrett Wilson is the one I was telling you before with Denver, with Patrick Surtain on him. That's a tough call. So you got to imagine he's only projected for 11 and a half, so they might be projecting that to be the case of hey he's he's going to be covered by that guy, so it's going to be tough. But I lean EJ in this one.
I do too.
But we'll see also what's AJ Brown's status, what's Najee Harris's status. Chuba Hubbard
Hi, honey.
had a great game. So is Carolina for real? And would you even put that in? But I don't know. I think it's a tough call. He probably has the guys out there that I'd do the same thing. I don't know what else you're gonna do. Would you play around with Singletary and move somebody in? I mean, he's been pretty solid all year.
He's been solid, and I mean, even Chuba Hubbard's starting to come on.
That's what I was saying. Maybe you could throw a Hubbard in there if you need a boom.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
wouldn't
know.
listen. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, this should be a very close matchup and one that I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. And does Casey's team head to 3-1, or do they both end up at 2-2 by the end of this?
I'm
All
going
right.
to predict 2-2.
2-2. There you go. Last but not least, can Tyler topple the Doc Can you get to the doctor this week? The doctor has the highest projected total on a week of all the teams. And for Tyler, as you heard about Amari Cooper, we don't know hardly anything, is what it sounds like, but he is questionable, and he was a big time reason that Tyler was close to taking down the big Bobo this past week. So if he doesn't have him, not sure where he goes from there. What do you think?
I think he's going to have a tough time. I mean, Sam just has a very solid up and down, and yeah, Tyler has some really good players, but I think Sam's got a really solid team. You got, I mean, Brees Hall's good, Zach Moss is good, but are they going to repeat week in, week out? I don't know.
Yeah,
I have a little mark on CJ Stroud now after watching his performance, although he is playing Jacksonville, who's just, that's going to be the first coach to get fired is Doug Peterson there. So,
yeah, potentially. I know I like that matchup. That's a good matchup. But he's also well, and I also want to say, do you make a switch? Because I think it's a tough call against that matchup because it's a really good matchup for CJ Stroud, who hasn't looked great this year. As you can see, he's number 16 in QB ranking on the season so far in our league, and that's not good. But he has Geno Smith on his bench, who's position rank only 13th, but he's going against Detroit Lions, who give up points, and that should be a high scoring affair, hopefully for him. But would you make a switch to Geno, or would you stick with Stroud and keep that Stroud Diggs connection going?
well, I think being that they're back at home and they're up against Jacksonville, I'd probably stay with Stroud myself. That's just my opinion.
Yep,
But
I agree because you're looking at Detroit. They're at Detroit, which is a really tough place to play for Geno.
correct.
So I'm with you. Struggling a bit, but you gotta kind of stay with him. And I don't know if he has any other answer for DeAndre Swift, especially if Amari Cooper is out. But maybe you go with a Hopkins, a Christian Kirk, somebody like that could put you more points. Because Swift just isn't it. I just
Nope.
he's gotten worse every year it seems that he plays in this league. So
I would
yeah,
agree
not
with that.
not a big fan. So what I say to that is I don't even know that DeAndre Swift has hit that projected point total yet this year. And that's a tough one. Yeah, he hasn't even gotten
No,
double
yeah.
his highest is 9. So
Yeah.
so when you think that, like when we see these projections, yeah, that's all well and good. But when I'm going to tell you that he's 6 points below that, we'll take that projected total down to 102 now. It's like that's how like I also look at it. So maybe making a change for Swift and putting in, a Hopkins depending on his matchup or a Christian Kirk, which he dropped a touchdown pass last night. I don't know if you saw that. Christian Kirk, they had him down the sideline in the end zone. He goes up for it. It just it hits him in the hands and like slashes the helmet. The guy was there for defense, but he wasn't on him. I mean, you got to catch that as a professional wide receiver.
Yep. It
So
hits your hands, man. You got.
yeah, but he's normally a pretty sure-handed
I
guy.
get it.
Yeah, he's normally pretty
Yeah,
sure-handed.
and he
But
was somebody that everybody
go ahead.
talking about in the preseason was, oh, Christian Kirk is somebody you ought to pick up and everything, but he hasn't really done anything. But I think part of it's back to the quarterbacking too. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has lived up to his expectations either.
Right.
So,
Mac Jones might be in there
but
sooner rather than later.
yep, could be. You
So
never
he
know.
might be a guy on the waiver wire for QBs. Who knows? But yeah, I think this will be an interesting matchup. Sam looks to be taking it. Like you said, he's got a really solid team. They're so healthy. DJ Moore, who's been kind of up and down, hasn't performed great. Like I think he's got a good matchup against the Rams. We talked about, potentially putting in Caleb Williams over Anthony Richardson. So that just tells you he could have a better week. And if he has a better week, plus on top of it, Goddard might be getting more run because of, just having some unfortunate injuries on the Philly side. Like a lot of things that could be going Sam's way this week.
Right.
Well, that is it for the week 3 recap. Andy, any parting words? I know. Any parting words for these folks?
Good luck to everybody except for who am I playing? Bob?
Uh,
Or who am I playing? I don't even know
you
who
sorry. You don't. Oh my God. Andy, you are playing Bob. Yes. You question. It's just late. That's all. It's just late in the evening.
Hopefully, it is. It's been a long day. Hey, I get up 3:32 like you do, or you get up earlier. I don't know. But no, I just hope everybody has fun with it. And that's what we got to remember. This is just for fun. Don't get so damn involved into it to where
Yeah.
it's, you know,
It's
it's not a
true.
rivalry. It's just fun. So
Yeah,
It is. It
remember
is.
that.
oh,
Remember that, Mr. Andy.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah. Good to see you, Joanne.
Hi,
Um,
Fred. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for making an appearance on the podcast again. Tage always makes her appearance.
voices from the distant. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and so you know, last Tuesday, it was harder on me that he didn't do the podcast than it was on you. Just so you know.
She really
I
did
get
have
it.
a
All about how he was missing the podcast.
Love it.
Well.
But he was, you know?
I was. I had material prepared. You know?
Yeah. This time
I'm
around
back.
you just had a smoked old fashioned prepared and just
Yeah, it helped me
lung
through the
it.
podcast. Now this thing's run how daggone long. So
Oh my
better
gosh,
save
we
it.
gotta stop. Yeah, we talk too much, Andy. All
I know
right.
it.
Well, good luck to
Love you
everybody.
guys. Everybody have fun.
Yeah.
Relax.
Blah
Long
blah.
season.
It's time's
Thank
up.
you and
Goodbye.
thank you and Zach for jinxing me.
Yeah, exactly. But in all
All right.
reality, love you all. Good luck in week 4. And I will see you on next week's podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, Andy. Love you.
Hey, love you, man. Take care.